Hi everyone, welcome back to Music Talks. Um, I'm so glad to be back again this Sunday. We have an outstanding artist for today, commemorating Mother's Day. So Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there who is a mother, who is a musician, because it is definitely not easy to try to fulfill all those different roles in life, and we have a great role model today for that purpose. My dear friend Zaira Meneses, um, who is a great performer, who have been called by acclaimed by the international press as a major performing artist of the classical guitarist, and that was by the New York Times. She started her career at an early age of 7 years old, and then she stopped performing 5 years later, which is why at a quite young age, and um, and her career keeps going with performing all around the world. But I will let her tell us a little bit more about her career. So thank you so much, Sarah, for being here with us. Um, it is definitely a great opportunity, a great pleasure for me to that you have accepted to come and share with us all your wisdom and all your experiences through life. Not only playing classical guitar, but as a woman, which is something different that we all know throughout the history of the music, and particularly also through the history of the classical guitar. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Gustavo. My pleasure.
And so, first of all, happy Mother's Day. Thank you again for being here. And I want to hear a little bit more about those musical backgrounds of Sarah when she was starting at that age. Was something that it was imposed. It was how that happened in Mexico, back in Mexico, in Veracruz, right? How did that happen? Because a lot of parents think about like starting their kids at an early age, and you start at an early age, so you have lived throughout all those experiences. So it would be great that a lot of people learn how was that for you, and so they can start like role modeling those experiences.
Yeah, okay, so first of all, I wanted to say that you are a great inspiration because you are the first ever asked me to do an interview on Mother's Day. And so you inspire me to also contact other female, and you saw probably you saw it earlier. I did an interview with other female friends and colleagues who are also professional musicians.
Mhm.
And I mean, you really inspire me to think about women who are also mothers and who are doing career as a musicians, you know. And I have to say that it has been very interesting, you know, because even though, of course, my daughter is also a musician herself, she's 19 years old. And as I mentioned earlier, I had her when I was 22 years old, so it was quite young. You know, I was very young. But I'm so glad I did it because otherwise I would be like so scared. Like when should I, when should I be a mother? I just it's a lot of responsibility. So I'm glad I did it young and not later. I think from my temperament and my personality, I think I'm better to be a young mother than an older mother. Like I couldn't do that. But anyway, so in Mexico, and thank you for asking that question. Mexico is it's a mixture of things. And I mean, we could do this also in Spanish, so the Mexican people can listen to if they want. For some of them who don't have the English. But I wanted to also, I mean, this is a great idea. Thank you for doing it in English as well, because that way we could you know communicate with the Americans who don't speak Spanish. So this is great. But anyways, so my life in Mexico has been it was kind of interesting. I started playing the guitar when I was 7 years old, and I picked it up very quickly. I think I was very shy. As a woman, I didn't feel quite comfortable to perform an instrument that it was mostly performed by men, so I definitely felt intimidated. But then, as soon as I started picking up, the instrument and the repertoire and how beautiful it was, I think my first recital was at age 12. I was 12 years old when I performed the guitar, and I didn't know I was sort of like, I think I was gifted, a gifted child. But in Mexico, my parents never, we didn't know, my parents or my teachers or no one, because I kind of like stick with the instrument, like I always pursue it. And even though my discipline wasn't the greatest, because of course I wanted to play and have fun with my friends and enjoy life, and then I had to do high school as well. So I still, keep playing the guitar, but I for sure I have the feel now that I see my students, and now that I see people who perform the guitar, and then I see myself, I think I definitely, I was a child, a gifted child. But no one, we didn't know how to approach it, and I didn't know how to share it with the media either. Like we just took it very natural. And also because in Mexico there is so much talent, so yeah, it was interesting. And I did had a lot of support from some of my male teachers. Alfonso Moreno, if you know of him, he founded the orchestra, the guitar orchestra in Jalapa, Veracruz. And I started having a full time job at age 15. 15 years old, I already had a full time job, so I was earning income, and all thanks to him. It was a scholarship, it was like a full scholarship. But thanks to him, I was able to pay not only my career, but also I was able to build my own studio, to pay for workers to work and build my studio. And I bought two cars, so at age 15 I had like a princess life, and all thanks to him. So we had to perform in the orchestra, and we were hired by the government. The government in Mexico is wonderful because they support the arts, they support. And so I had the privilege to be working since very young. And since after that, I started, I won a competition later, 2 years later, at 17 years old. I didn't expect it at all. It was kind of a surprise, because I always felt, um, as a woman, I never felt secure of what was happening. Like I always felt or insecure, or is this the right thing to do, or is the right way? But people keep saying that my musicality was amazing. So I got this competition. It was a life changing experience, but I couldn't believe it. Actually, I was very young, and it was too much, and people were kind of like impressed, like, oh my gosh, you won a competition! I can't believe it. And so it was for some people it was awakening some of jealousy. Some of people were jealous because, like, oh, I she's just a pretty face. And other people were like, well, she's very musical. So it was kind of mixed feelings. And in Mexico, it's not. I don't know. In America, it's a different feeling. Like they may think and they may feel something, but they will never say it. While in Mexico, they they think and they feel it, and they will say it or they will show you. So definitely, I will feel these energies. And it was a little bit difficult for me to keep up with it, especially from women. Women in my hometown, few friends who were from other disciplines like singers. Or I have a wonderful friend, her name is Salome, for example, and she's a wonderful female friend, and many other female friends that I have great friendship. But in my field, the classical guitar wasn't easy. It was not easy at all. It was a little bit difficult, yeah, in Mexico for me.
Let's back it up a little bit, and thank you for sharing all of that. I'm interested to know a little bit more about when you were that young, when you were learning. How many hours was Sarah practicing? Was it like an extremely like disciplined routine, or how was that process to building up till actually you earning the prize that you earn? You know, because some people don't realize that, like in Latin America, like few people are like you with that, probably with all those skills, because sometimes people talk about talent, but we have, I think, at this point of the history of the music, we have to accept that talent is one thing. I'm sure there are people out there talented, like since they started, but you had to be disciplined to reach your goals. And I would love to hear, probably at the beginning you weren't practicing per se 2 hours, or I would love to hear all the process and how was that happening.
Well, the guitar repertoire. I mean, if we really analyze the guitar repertoire, we don't have much of guitar methods that will teach us, written. There are not many written. I mean, now, yes, but uh, 30 years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't have many guitar methods. So I had the Julio Sagreras, which my teacher always insisted, and I started very easy. I never pushed myself. My parents for sure never pushed me. I always did very musical pieces, not difficult at all. And I remember I was playing Roland Diaz, and I was playing Mexican composers like Julio Cesar Oliva, and so sort of like easy, difficult, but in the in intermediate level, so I could manage that. And so I did not practice that much the instrument. I did, and also I was very precocious. So I had a boyfriend when I was 15 years old, I remember, and we broke up 2 years later, and I was heartbroken for this. I'm so glad he was not my boyfriend no longer, but I was heartbroken, and so I locked myself in the guitar, in the room with the guitar, and I just practiced nonstop for 7 hours straight. So that's how I know myself. Like working hard is kind of like, this sort of aspect of suffering. Like if I'm in pain, that's the only refugee I will find in my guitar. Like if I want to avoid some sort of situation, I just lock myself, and I practice as much, because you know then I have this happiness, and I'm very social. So I also I love to spend time with people. So practicing, yes, it goes by project. So if I have a project, and if I did had a project, if I had a concert coming out, I'll practice for the concert, then I relax. Then I have another concert coming out, I relax, and then practice for it's by projects, because I really like to enjoy people for sure in life.
Thank you, and that's awesome to hear. Like, and I know for sure, like some people don't know that out there maybe, but you're someone who has been exposed also to a lot of traditional music from Mexico. Some people will call it folkloric music. Um, the we all know that it's quite unique in, I will say, in the Latin American culture, that you will explore the classical feel of the music, but at the same time you will be also playing in an event where folkloric music is going to be played and stuff like that, which kind of offers a unique backgrounds, but at the same time some people cannot see that, and there is a lot of value behind that.
Yeah, wow, Gustavo, you are amazing. Thank you. You're really good at your questions, and I mean, you did your homework. Thank you so much for asking me all this. Yes, that's right. So you know what? I left Mexico 20 years ago, actually, 20 years ago, and I'm so glad you are mentioning this, because not many people ask me these questions. So it all comes with a need. So I had the need to be connected with my country, but with the good, nice side. And I mean, in all my respect to mariachi music and music, and all my respect to all this norteño music, from the north. It's wonderful, but I wanted to be connected with something that had meaning, and so that was the son jarocho music, which I took lessons with my teacher Laura Rebolloso, who I interviewed earlier, and also learning about this music from my country, so I never thought I could do anything with it. I just did it for a need. I started with a need, and I didn't know if I was good or not. I didn't care. I just wanted to do it. And of course, over the years, when I was in Spain, I danced flamenco, and so I was dancing. I knew already some steps of flamenco, and also folklore dancing. So I was dancing already, and so I know how to do the son jarocho steps and singing some kind of here and there, and then playing the jarana, and so it become part of a grant. I won a grant from Boston Foundation, and that allowed me to have my own band. I mean, I didn't expect it, I just did it because I really wanted to be in touch with my country, and I just couldn't find a way. Like, I didn't want to do neither mariachi because that's not who I am. I'm more kind of like intellectual, classy way, and then neither the guacamole ni tequila, or Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo. Done. I'm done with all. It's wonderful, but I'm done with it. Like, we are also other generation. Like, we could also let some other things happening. And so the son jarocho, I found it very intellectual, and in a way, it's basically the jazz music of Mexico, I believe. So, and then my teacher, Laura Robolloso, she's wonderful. There are so many wonderful son jarocho players, that are making the son jarocho like wow, exploding. So yeah, so I'm trying to navigate into that in those waters. Yes, for sure.
So you still exploring that? Do you feel like there was some equivalences in terms of the technique for the guitar and all that with the playing, or do you have to, like, I would say, like, relearn some skills to adapt it into that context?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's a great question. I mean, you are from Panama. Do you have a guitar or an instrument that is different than the guitar? Like, it's
Yeah,
tuned differently, right?
yeah.
So yeah, so the same with the Mexico, with the son jarocho, with the jarana, the same is tuned completely different. I do have a baroque guitar. The sound is kind of similar, but the tuning is insane. It's just another other intervals. We have only five strings, double five strings, and so I had to learn the left hand positions are completely other chords. They're not like C major is only one finger in the third fret of the second string, for example, and
So
then how you, yeah.
for the people who, like, that they don't know about the harana, what's the tuning of the harana?
That's a great question, and I can never memorize it. So I do it all by ear. No, I do it all by no, because you know what happened. So this is what happened. I was in between playing guitar and jarana. Okay, and so that's like a Dios mío, my goodness, that's a trip. Of my brain was going to explode because the chords are totally different, the rhythms are totally different. They're tres por, so they're doing like the rhythm is pa pa ta ta pa. So in one side you do da 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 1 2 3 1 2, and here you do da 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 da. No, so the rhythm is completely different. And so when I was and that helps you because it comes from the African, it's the African rhythms mixed with the Sephardics and all this Spanish Andalusian music. So it's a beautiful son jarocho culture. But I mean, it's a trip. It's that you it's a lot of work. It's another career. It's definitely a career. So I only know so much. I do the basic sones, but I need my teachers all the time, like, hey, this and that. But I think the tuning, I'll send you the links of the tuning and the information, but it's very difficult to know. I
Mhm.
mean, to memorize even.
Okay, okay, awesome. So let's get back to your career. So you for sure developed a great practice routine at an early stage, and then that led you into winning the competition. What happened after? What changes were the biggest ones, whenever you won the competition? Because sometimes it's like, let's bring it into the pop world. Like, your career was big enough at this point, but then you earn a Grammy and your career changes most of the time. The same thing
Right.
applies for classical guitar. If you have a certain career, you have few concerts per year, but then you're in a competition, then all of a sudden your international exposure goes like up the hill, And so I would love to hear what happened after you won that competition, how that changes your career, and at the same time, probably you found some step back in terms of being a woman, and how and how in the industry, because we'll see that in any industry, in any side of the music business, or either in any field, we will see
Like
those.
harassment?
What do you say?
Do you mean harassment? Like if I was
Well,
harassed?
it could be possible, but it could be just something like just the fact that you're a woman, that and a specific I don't know, like a recording company won't want to record you because you're a woman
Oh
or
yeah,
stuff
no,
like
no.
that.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not just a woman. Beautiful, cute, nice, fun,
Uh-huh. But
easygoing,
but but
Latina.
yeah, but I would love to hear all those possible situations, because harassment for sure could be one,
Oh yeah,
but you could see so many other possible issues in the market, because it comes back to the music market. It's still music market, and we all know, like, we artists is one thing, but the music industry is another monster.
well, this is great. I mean, Gustavo, you're amazing. I mean, honestly, you are amazing. Thank you for asking these questions because you make me connect with myself. A lot of the times, some interviews are very like superficial. But you really, thank you for being so considerate. Well, it's very interesting because I think I met two different worlds. I first of all, I knew I did not want to stay in Mexico because it was too complicated. I was too rebellious. I was very rebellious. And also the education in Mexico is wonderful. Okay, it's wonderful. However, there is a part that I do not like, and I didn't know it was wrong until I came to United States. And is that in Mexico, the education a lot of the time is very rigid and very cruel. So for example, like teachers will criticize you of everything you do. Like it doesn't matter if you play well, you just made a little mistake. Oh, you are not worth my time. You know what I'm saying? And I no, it was horrible. And so that puts a huge amount of insecurity. So I mean, if we analyze the soccer players in Mexico, like we have a saying, they play like never before, but they lost like always. Like they are wonderful soccer players, but they lose because the self-confidence is below zero. And this is exactly what happened with the teachers in Mexico. So they did definitely they were wonderful to me. I mean, they taught me a beautiful technique, but they also made me feel so insecure all the time. All the time. It was like walking on top of eggshells. So so that I think you have to balance things up. So no one expected that I would win anything to begin with because I was a woman, and no one took me serious because I always like to have a happy face. I love to enjoy life, and I love to be a party girl, if you want to call it that way. But yeah, but when I need to be serious, and when I, especially with the guitar, that I love my career and I really love to be on stage, and whenever I have to perform on stage, it's serious. For me it's like that, or you do it or you die. It's very serious. But so anyway, so when I did that, so when I won this competition, I noticed like people were expecting me to be perfect. And I was 17 years old, for God's sakes, and no one really guided me, or perfect or marry me, I mean, one of those two or another. So from very young age, I had to deal with that. It was overwhelming. So I couldn't. So I started traveling to international festivals, and I discovered another world, and I said like I'm not from, I mean, I'm from, my heart is from Mexico, but the education or the way they are making me feel that they're suppressing me and they make me feel less than anyone else, it doesn't belong to me. I'm great. And so I learned that actually when I met my husband, because before that I didn't know what kind of world anything. And then when I met Elliot, that he was so positive and so like everything is possible, and you are value. And I was like, am I didn't know I value anything. So so soon, but a couple of things before meeting Elliot, I also won another concerto competition with the Aranjuez, and that's also another part of the way. And I remember that at the jury they even said, "Well, we didn't give you the first prize because you were a woman." It was kind of like something like that, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. And I just keep moving forward. And I think one of the things that helped me the most were my parents, who they never pushed, and I just did my career very organically. I never did it with ambitious, like some careers are like, oh, you are like the super like diva or super gifted child. No, I didn't like, okay, let's try it and see what happens. So soon after I started traveling, and then I moved out of the country, at age, I think I started traveling at 19, and then by 20 I was gone, by 2021.
Did you move immediately after to the US, or where did you move at that time?
Yeah, so I started traveling to Europe. I went to Spain, and then I moved to Boston.
Okay.
To Boston because I met Elliot. I met him twice at 17. I think I was 17, and then I met him 3 years later when I was 19. We fought. We had a huge fight, and then always, and then after that, we fell in love or something like that at 20, and then we decided to live together. 21, and then the rest is history,
Okay.
But I definitely, I'm so glad I left Mexico, because otherwise, who knows? Like I would be, and oof, if I tell you about my, yeah,
There's so many
so
yeah.
many stories.
I kind of like relate with you, and I could see what you're saying, because of the different education systems that we all have all around the world, and when you come to the US, it kind of change. It tweaks your mindset a little bit, and then you start seeing some stuff in not just in our countries, but overall in Latin America, and but at the same time, I guess that there is a point where when you take that for granted and you just forget. But there is a point in your career where you start looking back. It's like, well, what can I do to make that different back in my country? Because you feel like the need to give back to your country. Um, and probably you feel like that sometimes. And because I know you have been creating, you create a festival, Latin American festival in Boston. But I'm curious also to hear if you have something going on every year, every 2 years. I don't know how often in Mexico, where you try to give a little bit back to the community in Mexico.
Oh, Gustavo, I love you. You are so nice. I can't believe you made a research about me. Thank you so much. Yes, actually, thank you. Yes. So I have created an organization called Zama, and that's Zaira Meneses Music Association. And the way I did it is like so before Corona, of course, I don't know now what's going to happen, but what I did is like I want to do a competition where I could select one student from Mexico or Latin America, international or even international student, but Latin America better because they're more in need, and so I like to give a scholarship and sponsor them with a plane, an airplane, and also with the hosting, and a concert, so they can perform. And we had that student coming, and he was the sweetest person ever. I mean, he's very talented, Benjamin, and Benjamin Gonzalez from Mexico. He was the winner of last year, and so he had the opportunity to perform at the Latin American Festival. So, I do not have pleasure creating something if I don't help the others. Like I don't like to just be me being like the soloist. I love being on stage, and I love being the if an orchestra is hiring me in my concerts, now that they were canceled, and etc. Of course I love it, but I also like to help the others, like the young generation, because they really need it. They need support. So I created that, and I also like to support the ones who everyone. I don't have rules. So let's say, so the winner was obviously the not picked by me. It was a jury. There is a jury who is going to pick the winner, because otherwise we has to be clean. And I wanted to do that a competition again in September or December, because of this Corona situation, I don't know when, but it's to present them in my festival, in the Latin American festival. So yes, I do that to give back to my country, because I think my country is a wonderful country. It is, I can imagine in Panama too. How is Panama? Panama must be beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful country. Actually, have you heard about the Panama Guitar Festival? 'Cause
Yeah,
that's
I'm waiting for
you.
them to invite me.
Well, uh-oh. Uh, talk to Emiliano. Uh, but um, but going back to your festival, um, how long does it last? Like that would be great to know. Like, is it a 1 week festival? Is it 2 days, 3 days? How does it work?
Well, it really all depends, and I do it in February because the weather in Boston is very cold and gray, so people tend to be depressed more in winter in New England. So I did the Latin American Festival in order to make people happy, to bring more kind of warmth from our country. I mean, poor artists sometimes they're suffering like, ooh, it's so cold,
Yeah, in
but
Boston.
yeah, I know. But so it all depends of how what I'm having. So in the two first years, I had the honor to host Maestro Leo Brower. It was like unbelievable. It was one of, I couldn't believe it. It just meant to be, I believe. And I found sponsors, and I did it all by myself. But this third year, I had the blessing of having Agustin Foundation to sponsor the festival, and so we did it at River School Conservatory, and that was the third year. Now I will do it next year. If this is over, I don't know what's going to happen. But if I do it again, I will do it with another organization. Last year, I think I did it with my school, the River School Conservatory, and they were wonderful. But the location was a little bit far. So I'm trying to figure that out, like the location and the dates because of this whole situation. So if it happens, it's going to probably be like 3 4 days, and I always like to focus on composers because composers deserve the support, they really do, and they so I always have one composer as a guest. So this time it was Luis Zia, that he's also a composer, and
Do, do you focus
yeah.
in Latin American composers, or what do you do?
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, because otherwise it's endless, right? There's so many composers in the world. But let me see. And there is it was another composer from Mexico, Watu, a friend of mine, Cudberto, also. And there was another one, Aristides, Aristides Llanesa, a very contemporary composer, Mexican composer. And I met him through the Mexican consulate. So yeah, so whatever, but they don't have to be from Mexico. It could be anywhere, but as long as they're composers, and they can compose a piece for the guitar. So that's why Leo Brauer, of course, absolutely, Maestro Leo Brauer inspired me to start this craziness. I did it very small, and it was like it was not expected that I will host him on my festival. It just happened, it was like a
Mhm.
coincidence actually. And then I said, hey, why not?
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, it was like, oh my gosh, a tribute and this and that. I even have a picture of, we gave him a prize and everything.
Oh, look at that. This is beautiful.
I know.
Um,
My dear friends needed to find the fish. It was a fish from Massachusetts. It was a whole thing. It was a lot of fun.
awesome.
It was wonderful.
So, so Sarah have a career as a performer, also as a social changer per se. Um, what other stuff you do? You teach also, right? You teach at the New England Conservatory, and where else?
Yeah, so I do teach at New York Conservatory and the River School Conservatory, and I do mostly also international workshops, meaning like I travel around Europe and then bring whoever. I wanted to do Spain in April, but we got Corona and then that was the end. But yeah, so I know it's crazy. So I do have other projects coming up now, and I'm very excited about it. And yeah, so I keep it simple also because my daughter graduated from high school a year ago. And I didn't realize, and now that we are Mother's Day, I really did not realize how much of a difficulty during the process of applying for a college. It was insane. I mean, it was really insane. So I remember I had to memorize the Elegiaco Concerto in 3 weeks. And then my daughter was in this other side preparing for the application for the SAT or whatever exams, like we both were, and so I had to choose, do I do this, or so let's try to do both and wish for the best.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's one of these things that I would never give up my career. I mean, I admire the mothers who give up everything, but I think everything is possible. You can do both.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I just opened the chance for people to ask some questions here in Spanish and English if they have some questions out there. But coming to the topic of being a mother and being a professional musician, I'm curious to hear um, how were those challenges at the beginning when she was just a
Baby.
a baby and how was your routine at that time in your life and how you kept it going at the same time you were a mother and you're also a wife, and those are beautiful qualities in a woman that you usually see a lot of good performers out there who either don't have a personal or professional life. It's hard to balance them out, and it seems like
Yeah.
somehow you're making it. And because I know it's hard, that's what I'm saying. Like you somehow, but it would be great for a lot of people out there who probably they might be struggling through that right now, and they don't know how to deal with that.
Well, exactly. What there is really no. I mean, someone to help you in the house. Yes, that's definitely necessary. That's the rule number one. But we did not have anyone. We really didn't. So I stopped playing the guitar for 5 years. I got an injury in my hand for carrying the baby. But before that, I remember Raquel was born, and then a year later, I got a huge contract, and I'm not going to say names because it's not worth to say names. I got a huge contract to do a huge tour in Germany, and to perform as a soloist with an orchestra. And I said, sure. I mean, I'm coming. And so I had to leave my daughter with my husband, and he was okay with it. The only issue that we had is that in the contract, they didn't specify where I was going to be sleeping. And so later on, I got a phone call from the secretary of the orchestra saying in secret that please don't repeat what I'm saying, but the plan is that the conductor wants to sleep with you the entire month and a half. And so I was like, I don't think so. This was just, so things like this happen into my career. I can name them one after another. I mean, and and I also got another well-known project, and I would not say, of course, name. But when I was recording this CD, and this person said to me how much in love he was with blah 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 blah, I was not political enough, and I just showed him my middle finger. I mean, I should be more, like things like this. So what happened in situations like this, with me is like that, or black white, but nothing in between. But so that's another thing that I got very confused in United States, that once you are here, that you have to learn how to say things in a certain way so you don't break your bridges. And then with me, when it comes to harassment, I would just say no. So this is
Yeah.
why I didn't get to do the tours, and why I didn't get to do the CDs. So whatever, you know.
Okay. Um,
But
we we
life.
we have a great question here, and it's related to the performance you did with your daughter. And he's asking, when did you perform your first piece on the stage with your daughter? And I guess he's asking like, how do you feel and all that. And and who composed this musical piece. Because like you get to perform with a lot of players, but not a lot of people get to perform with their sibling, which is a quite unique experience. And
I
that's a great
know.
question. Thank you, Juan Castillo. Actually, he's from Panama. Thank you for asking this. Um, but what can you tell us about?
Well, I mean, so the question is about. Let me see. Let me repeat if I understood. So
When did you perform your first piece on the stage with your daughter, and who composed your musical piece? And I would love to add that. What were your feelings prior
yeah,
and during and after?
yeah. Okay. So basic. I think I did. And I said I did because when Raquel started to have the last 2 years of high school was really intense that we couldn't do anymore. But I started performing with her professionally on stage when she was 12 years old. I mean, she's a gifted child. She's really great. And so we did Aranjuez Concerto. I remember, and we will do it again for sure. And we did a couple of outreach concerts in Boston, and we also did a tour in China. So we performed together, the two of us, and also with Elliot, we did the three of us. We did some Bach arrangements as well with harpsichord and two guitars. And so the feeling of it is she is such an amazing musician that I do not feel is my daughter playing. I just feel like she is a professional musician who's coming to rehearse, and she really puts the show. She's really great. So I don't feel I don't feel nervous for her at all. Sometimes parents, I don't know, or teachers, we will feel nervous because of our students are performing. So with her, I would just feel this is awesome. I'm loving it. I'm having such a great time as a colleague, and she's gorgeous. I mean, everybody's telling me mother-in-law by now. So I feel proud of her. And now at home, just so you know, we are having this situation because I got her a keyboard, a keyboard where no one can hear her because she's playing this big piece of Chopin, and and she's recovering from some muscle strains that she got while she was in Italy. She was studying for 1 year in Italy, but so she's really upset because I'm not allowing her to play the Steinway that we have in the living room. But it's like the sound is huge. So I said, like, please, Raquel, just. I mean, if the gym was open, I would run to the gym 2 3 hours. But she's like home. We are all home, so she's a little bit upset. But anyways, I love her. I love you, my baby. If you're watching in the back.
Awesome. Thank you, Juan, for asking. And along those lines of the COVID-19, we all have been affected, um, but we all see changes coming, uh, and that has been the topic among everyone who have interviewed in the past. We see changes coming. Maybe we saw the needs for those changes before or prior COVID-19, and I would love to hear what is your feelings about those, because classical guitar industry or classical guitar field, we have been struggling for a long time in so many different ways. Like concerts are not coming, or even having a concertist or concertista live. Is almost out of the view for nowadays for the upcoming musicians. And then you realize that you have to have so many different sources of income to be able to keep up your life, to be able to keep up a family. And but somehow now with the COVID-19, we can think about all of these situations, because I guess for Latin American, the picture of a serious musician is not even a thing. But when you come to the US, you see like people care about you somehow, and at the same time you feel there is more support from the government. But in Latin America, you struggle throughout the whole career. But at the same time, it doesn't matter where you are. There are struggles like career wise, and perhaps now that we have the time to think about it, we are thinking about possible solutions, more ideas, and staying creatively with all of this.
Well, That's a very interesting topic, Gustavo. And I think that COVID is hitting very hard the musicians because we don't have the stage. We are not performing live on stage. So it's definitely hitting us very hard. And I think it's also very positive because I don't know, it's like a lot of the times I don't understand why, for example, Gustavo Dudamel, who's a great conductor, right? Why does he has to be like conducting the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and then why are we here, the guitarists, like doing whatever? You know what I mean? Like we should be all have the same possibilities and the same opportunities. I mean, if he's in LA, why I should not be in LA, or why I should not be, And I think it's a way of saying, or in all my respects to the wonderful musicians. I mean, I'm not saying that they are less or more or nothing, but I think we are all musicians in this. Like we are all fighting, and we all are living the same dream. We all should give the same chance, you know. And so this is basically the COVID thing. It put us all in the same level. Like it doesn't matter. We're gonna die if you don't take care of yourself, you know. So forget about you being the star because the star no longer exists. Honestly, it's all about inspiration. It's really all about inspiration, like bringing inspiration. So I think we should all just keep the communication going and learn from this experience and trying to just be more human about this, and then also the pop stars like are they're influencers, and okay, if they want to do that live, fine. But we should also, the classical musicians, we should also wear many different hats, not just one. I perform here. Why do I have to be locked in a box? We should just try different things and try to meet new people. And the positive side that I take from this COVID thing is that it pushes us to be, every challenge pushes us to be better, and then so, and it is not a criticism of the musicians who are having 3 concerts, 4 concerts a week. Geez, I wish I could have that, but because I'm a mother, I couldn't. I can, and I'm trying, but it's like me against 20-year old who just won GFA, whatever, and hey, if you invite me, I will be there professionally. I'll do my best and all that. But so now we are all, a little bit more compassion to each other, to all ages, to all generations. Let's have compassion and care for each other, and it's not about me having a name or so. It's just being human and helping each other. So if a conductor is listening to me, please hire me. I'll play the concert.
You touch some interesting topics here. Precisely yesterday, I was hearing a good friend of mine, a songwriter in Argentina, and she was talking about the importance behind having these cultural houses that we usually have in Latin America as a center to put people together. And she was talking about the role of musicians, not only as that person who's bringing art to the people, but we are the ones who are giving the chance to people to meet, because otherwise we are too busy. And I remember she said the expression, because she's in Buenos Aires, and she said, like, in Buenos Aires everyone is busy, so we have to give them reasons to be together. And I was like, wow, this is like, because if you imagine that in New York or in busy city like that in Boston too, like everyone is so busy with their life trying to keep up with the bills, their professional life, their personal life, and we are almost like little robots. We don't know where we're going or what is happening. And then when we put events together, which we cannot any longer right now, people are losing that chance to talk, to have this kind of interaction that make us more human. And that's great that you brought that out, because we don't see that. I could see like different situations depending on the systems. Like in the US, you don't see those cultural houses because you don't need them, but then it's hard to create events because everything gets so expensive.
Yeah.
Whereas in Latin America, you see the needs of the artist trying to put out the work. It doesn't matter what, you know. If they get rice and beans, for playing tonight, they're gonna be happy. And and those are two different situations that somehow you put them together because um, it's interesting to see those situations in life from a performance
I
point of
mean,
view.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at us in United States. I mean, I think right now, a member of an orchestra in Mexico is earning more money than the Metropolitan Opera musician that right now. Why? Because they're not getting their check pays, and in Mexico, at least the government is paying for it. I mean, and probably if someone is there watching, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I definitely think that the government here in the United States has to pay more for the musician. Come on, we are not a luxury; we are an education.
Hmm.
You know, and so these private institutions, they are trying to make the thing as a luxurious because they want to attract the sponsors, right, to be able to pay for it. But the truth is, this responsibility is for the government.
Hmm.
I mean, period. And
Hmm.
I can't believe that Latin America has a more are more advanced in this than United States. I mean, I love United States, but I'm not content with this struggle of many years that musicians get paid zero from the government. I mean, we do have some foundations and some, some things here and there, and you may get at some here and some there if you apply for a grant.
Hmm.
But what about if the music school also is part of the public system?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense that it's all private. Why?
yeah,
And then the music,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
That's you went to an area that is it's quite interesting to think about it because you think how much money you pay for your degree versus like how long does it take you to earn that money back. Uh, and I've been, I guess, lucky to be able to be under a scholarship like throughout all my education in the U.S. But you will meet a lot of people who are getting grants and getting stuff like that, and they might get $100,000 to $200,000 of investment in their education, depending where you go, because you got to include the living and all that, and um, and then you as a musician, it's hard to make the living out of it. And if you're a performer and then you graduate thinking that you're gonna earn that money back as a performer, like how many of those are making that money out there?
exactly. That's right. That's right. And so I think, honestly, in Latin America, we have a wonderful school. We really do. We have it all. We have the musicianship, the talent, the everything. So so the question, and I remember you mentioned this before. Is it worth it for the Latin American students to move out of the country and to study somewhere else? I mean, it's always a great idea to travel because
Hmm.
you're going to make connections, right? And
Hmm.
so, but to pay $45,000 or whatever the money they're charging in the schools to make connections that are going to be, of course, forever. But are those connections are going to really be your next donors for your nonprofit organization that you're planning to do in 5, 10 years? I don't know. I
Hmm.
don't know.
Hmm.
And so this is sort of like a fiction that the school system is selling in the United States. So I mean, but it's really funny because Latin America has this amazing music, rhythms, harmony, rich music that we should explode more, and we should be. That's why I want to give to my country back, like to make sure that they develop more, to make the contacts. The young generation has to make the contacts. If they can make the contacts, and you don't have to pay this ridiculous amount of money. I mean, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just my
yeah,
my
yeah. It's interesting again to hear that you are saying like, yeah, Latin America has a great musical tradition for so many reasons. Every country have their own history behind, and but Mexico is one of those countries that I would say had like the most support from the government for a long time, and that could be related because the history of the country, like how all the countries are by itself since they independent from Spain. Um, but at the same time, you go to like Argentina, which have a great culture of supporting artists too. Even though we all struggle in different ways, it doesn't matter what, like where you go as a musician, you get support, but you're still struggling because it's hard. Um, but in Mexico, you can see like the output is just outrageous, and that's beautiful, you know. And not just in classic guitar. When you go to even the folkloric music, the dance, everything, everything. And what are those stuff that you think if you had a chance to change in Mexico? Not for your personal sake, but as an educator to be able to reach more young audiences, to even to educate the parents of these kids. Because sometimes, as you said before, like at the beginning, I don't remember you mentioned your parents were musicians, but sometimes they are non musicians, so they don't even know what's happening with their kids. And I think that's part of the learning or the teaching that had to be part of that whole education.
Yeah, I think I honestly think that I mean the education in Mexico, at least in my country, and I left 20 years ago. I mean this is me talking from long experience. I'm sure things have changed since I left, but I would probably polish the education because the education is not bad at all. I think we have wonderful professional musicians, doctors, dentists, you name it. They are really wonderful. The only thing that I will shape in Mexico is the jealousy because I don't understand where that comes from. Like when someone like the misuse of power. Like this is what I will change from Mexico. Like don't be jealous of your partner if he's we are there is always someone who's gonna be better than you, and it's okay. You know what I mean? It's like it's not you just what do? You support that person and you become a team. So this is the problem with my country, and I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it comes from the religion that many people have this religion and they distort it because they are fighting religions amongst religions. So I have no idea where that comes from, but I think that's obstructing a lot of development in our country. So there are so many wonderful projects that are being not being supported just because someone in the power says no because I don't like you.
Hmm.
So it takes things too personal. I think we have to be the education is wonderful. We just have to step a little bit up and be more professional and really help everybody and everybody who needs it.
Hmm.
And if, so let's say if I have a young student who's not well educated, I'm not going to judge or I'm not going to obstruct his career or her career. I'm just going to try to shape her or shape him, try to educate and listen. This is the way to do it. There's nothing but let's do it together or something. So I think that's one of the things that it's many things in Mexico, of course, education, but it's a wonderful country. You walk into the stores and you have an amount of things that you can buy with $1.
Yeah. Um.
It's well in Cuba you can't. In Cuba it's less things, like less choices. And in Mexico it's a rich country. It's a very rich country. It's not. Also, I will change the organization. We are not well organized. We should be more organized. If we are more organized, then everything will be distributed more equally. So that's what I would. I mean, I don't know. I hope we can do a change.
Um.
Yeah.
I'll say I relate with all what you're saying right now because I still see it also in Panama. But at the same time, I relate with the political system, basically what you are saying, like all those influences that you see, like take decisions based on influences, but not to your training or to your capabilities as a professional. And I think that's a great takeaway from what you said because you see like a lot of stuff happening that and I won't say that's okay, but that will happen no matter what, corruption and all that. We can fight against it a little bit, but it would still happen. And I'm not talking about music. It will happen overall. But in music, the difference, like we are trying to be better because of the music, and when we
Yeah.
do this kind of stuff, is against it. Um,
Yes.
and that's the problem. Like music is supposed to put people together, not against each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, music brings a level of quality that, like art as well, visual art. So music will bring the quality that we are missing in our lives. So it will make people think different. You
Mm-hmm.
know, someone who has, let's say, a person with low income, and then they only have $20, and another person who has 20 also dollars, they spend those $20 differently. You know, the one who has this education of full of quality, they will spend it in a book or in something that will make them enrich their education, while others will spend it in, I don't know, in beer, or which is fine. I also spend it in wine, but you know what, you know my point. Like sometimes we will come into priorities, you know, like what would bring the best my education, like what would make others, you know, just always to help others, I think. Yeah.
Um,
Gustav, you
yeah,
are amazing.
we
You
are a
are
little
amazing.
bit past the time, but I wanna ask you maybe one last question if we don't have any question from anyone else out there. But I was thinking about audiences, right? And we see audiences usually just as the public and the in a on stage or whatever concert hall you are at. But we have to think about also audiences of the students who are out there trying to be a professional in this. And you see a lot of people like you were saying they are so rigid with their teaching sometimes, and they forget that music we are just a few people trying to fight against all the systems and all the issues out there trying to be musicians, and we forget that we had to try to keep those people who are interested in music, you know, as a students, like as a future professional musicians. What is your message for all those people? It doesn't matter what age they are, by the way, but they are trying to be that. They're trying to explore. They're trying to find themselves through music, and not all the teachers are aware of that. And what I would love to hear the message from you as a woman, a mother, and a musician. What are your words so we can close with this?
Well, you know, I have a book next to me that is called Willpower. You know, and this book has taught me so many wonderful lessons. Like this is a book that will encourage you in so many levels. And so I will give the advice that I will give is have willpower. You know, it doesn't matter, because a lot of the times people will make you doubt about your intuition, you know, and so it doesn't matter. Just if you have willpower, whatever you vision is gonna happen, you know. So it's like it's always really, it always works. So just have willpower, and it doesn't matter how old you are, and maybe let's say you want to be famous, no, maybe it doesn't happen now, but if you have willpower, it's going to happen one day.
Mm.
And it's just, you know, it also, and you never know in which way. It could be as a speaker, it could be as a musician, it could be as anything you want. It's like life is a journey where we we discover ourselves and our talents depending on the obstacles that we face. And so as long as we help others, as long as we help each other. And so for the young generation, don't give up and have willpower always. My daughter is a huge example of willpower. She's more disciplined than me. And I never push her to do anything. At the opposite. I always said, don't
Okay, and
practice.
and for the women specifically in classical guitar, which is still a niche, I would say, or per se. We have wonderful young generation of female players who I adore, and I love to see it. But what can you tell them to the future to those future generations of women in music?
You know, to be themselves. that's another thing. Like, don't be afraid, to be yourself and also be respectful to your mentors. I always say that, even men or women, be respectful to your mentors, because that's one thing that I think over the years we are missing with generation. So let's say there nowadays it's very popular, the influencers, no, like the ones who have like so many Instagram hits and so many this and that, which is great, and so I will say this is a little bit of mirage, like you're playing the guitar and you're playing what you're doing is because of your mentors. So be grateful to them, because that's always good, so women or men, especially women, and then the woman also, you know enjoy life, of course. What else I want to say, enjoy life, and be also true to yourself, whatever you do, don't feel bad about it, because it will come from your heart, whatever, because some people, I don't know what women will go through different circumstances, but I, for sure, for many years I didn't forgive myself because I didn't know how to handle the harassment, for example. Just didn't know how to, and I feel like, oh, and I was very is immature and very insecure about it, and so I just run away, which is clear, but I'm sure there's other way to handle these things. I just didn't know how. So I will say to the new generation, please learn how to handle the mistreatment, and come to me and teach me. I would love to learn because I just don't know. I just send everybody to hell. So if they know better way, please come back to me, and I will be happy to be your student.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Zaira, for the great talk. It's been great, and we might repeat it in the future, so we could talk about a little bit more in specific about women sing and guitar, and we could get a little bit more specific. Thank you, everyone who were watching this, and this is gonna be reposed on YouTube, so you all know, and that you have the chance to share it and rewatch in the future. And probably in this case, we will, or I guess I will, add the subtitles so people in Latin America could watch it and understand what is happening. And thank you, everyone. And next Sunday, we have another great artist in the classical guitar world. So stay in tune over this week. I will be posting that. And there are amazing, great artists and musicians coming out for the whole month. So thank you so much to everyone. Thank you so much, Zaira Meneses, again. And happy Mother's Day again. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Gustavo. You are amazing. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.